Hi friends, it's Miss Alicia. I am doing art this week for week 20, and we are studying the composer Ludwig van Beethoven and his Fifth Symphony, which most of us are very familiar with. And so I just wanted to chat for a second about the classical period. The classical period runs from about the mid-1700s till the early 1800s, 1820s-ish, and then it moves into the Romantic period from there. A lot of things were going on in the world at that time. A lot of changes were happening. The Americas and the United States a whole new country was being formed. There was the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The French Revolution was occurring also. And so there was just a time of change, and you can feel that it was a time of excitement and things were moving forward. So that was the classical period. Beethoven was born in Bonn, Germany in 1770, right at the early part of the classical period. And he excelled at piano at a very early age, just like some of you. His father was very, very pushy, though. He was also a musician, and so he wanted his son to be a musician as well. And so his father was very pushy, sometimes to the point of being mean about it. So when Beethoven was 16, he went to Vienna, Austria, and played the piano for Mozart, and because Mozart had come right before Beethoven, and that was a very prestigious thing for him to be able to get to play for Mozart. Shortly thereafter, about 6 years later, he actually moved to Vienna, and Vienna is kind of like our modern day Nashville, Tennessee, the music capital of the world. Vienna, Austria was kind of the music scene of Europe during the classical period. So, and it's very beautiful. It is a gorgeous city. And then while he was in Vienna, Beethoven studied under Haydn, and he also taught music, and he also performed lots of concerts and orchestra performances and things like that. So, his early period, which is before 1802, he composed 2 symphonies and numerous sonatas, and he kept really, really meticulous notebooks detailing all of his ideas for his different symphonies and sonatas and arias and well, I'm assuming arias, maybe not, I don't know. I need to know more about Beethoven. Anyhow, in 1797, as the French Revolution rocked Europe, Beethoven began to lose his hearing. He was only 31. I started losing my hearing about that same time period, and so I kind of understand how Beethoven felt. The only difference is that I have hearing aids to help me, and that these wonderful little inventions were not created yet. And so he felt really sad and frustrated, and you can hear it in his music from that time period. He was devastated, and he wrote to his brothers that art was what sustained him, what kept him going. In his middle period, which was 1803 to 1814, he wrote 6 more symphonies, sonatas, piano concertos, string quartets, a mass, and even an opera. Those are all different kinds of classical music, and each one has its own characteristics that you can explore this week if you want to. His music celebrated struggle and heroism using repetition, dramatic dynamics, and tense rhythms. The Fifth Symphony is a very famous example, and it took him basically 5 years to write it, from 1804 to 1808. 4 years to write it. At the age of 44, Beethoven's hearing loss forced him to stop performing publicly, but he kept composing. I can understand that a little bit too, because you can still feel the music when you're playing it. You can also still hear it in your head. And so just because he couldn't hear it with his ear, he was such an accomplished musician that he could still hear the notes in his own head and in his thoughts. So that's a little interesting thing too. His late period, 1815 to 1827, brought a more reflective note and tone to his works. According to legend, after the first performance of his Ninth Symphony in 1824, a singer had to turn him toward the audience to see the applause since he was almost deaf. Just really sad. And so, after a long illness, Beethoven died in Vienna in 1827. So, in the last part, in the late time period of his writing of music, he expressed his frustration and his anger and his emotions through his music, and that was not a common thing at that time. And so he is actually one of the leaders of the Romantic period. He drew the classical period to a close in music and helped kick off the Romantic period that did express emotions and feelings and reflect that. All in all, he wrote 9 symphonies, and we're going to listen to Beethoven's 5th Symphony. It has 3 movements or sections, like different parts, and in the first part, it's in sonata form. So in a sonata, there are 3 sections. So there is the exhibition, the development, and then the recapitulation. That's a fun word to say. But think about it like maybe an essay. So you've got the introduction, which is the exhibition, and then you've got the development, which is more details, telling the full story. And then you have the recapitulation, which is a recap or the conclusion. And so what we're going to listen to is 2 scenes or melodies that are introduced throughout the course of the 5th Symphony. And we'll hear lots of stringed instruments. Those of you who have been in CC a while are familiar with the stringed instruments, but those of you who are not, who are new to CC, may not be aware of what some of the names of these are. You and your mom can look at them on page 112, 113. I don't think these particular ones were in the 5th Symphony. And then page 114 has all of these horns. During Beethoven's time, the French horn was not as intricate as it is, this modern one is, but he had something along the lines of the French horn with the same sound. And then we had all of the woodwinds. So, at the start of the movement, everybody say it with me. We're going to do the very famous first 4 notes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. All right. Grab your favorite stuffed animal and snuggle and lay down, or snuggle with your mom or your favorite stuffy and listen to Beethoven's 5th Symphony. And we'll see you next week. Love you guys. Stay safe. Stay well. Bye.